what's up guys, it's Fish here and welcome back to another epic online battle on Medieval Kingdoms 1212. Today we have a awesome 2 vs 1 siege battle. I am playing as an attacker, Warrior Sparta is playing as a defender, and we also have an ally who has come to aid me on this day playing as the Teutonic Order. It's going to be super fun. We made sure to give defender Warrior Sparta a lot more money, and also just look at this glorious city, and it's going to be ablaze very soon. Don't you guys worry about that. I think these really dense cities suit these buildings. I do see a lot of people complaining about them. They just look out of order and look out of place and stuff, but I mean these large cities I think suit them extremely well. I do understand your point on maybe the smaller cities, but I don't think you can say that this does not look glorious whatsoever. I mean just take a look at that. That looks absolutely awesome. Definitely much more medieval than the Attila ones at least. And also they've actually been showing off some of the Bretonian like castles they managed to get into, like keeps and stuff, which look even better than what we're looking at right now. And again, remember, this is the first time they've imported this in, so it's going to get better. You know, they're going to work out and get rid of some of the buildings which look less medieval as they just work on this more and more. So, you know, if you don't like this first iteration, it's going to get better the more they work on it. And I mean, for a first attempt at it, I think they've done a really good job. So let's run through the army comps really quickly. I am playing as Bohemia. As we saw, we've got the Teutonic Order over there and England in the city. You always know it's going to be a good siege battle when you have England defending. And playing this battle, it really reminded me of like the medieval 2 days. There's like intense wall fighting for ages, and we get down and fight in the streets for a while. You know, it's a grind, and I really miss that from medieval 2 days. And you know, this kind of didn't feel exactly like medieval 2. But, you know, it reminded me of them days, and I feel like they're doing a really good job at getting close, you know, working towards that medieval 2 style, because it's such a good style. At least in my opinion. You guys can be the judge of that in this battle. So, we will run through my army comp. I am playing as Bohemia. On my front line, I have 5 units of these macemen. They're extremely potent. They're my top tier infantry, and they can pretty much come up against any infantry in the game, and they'll do pretty decently. Having maces just means that they can penetrate armor really effectively instead of trying to pierce it. And they're actually leading all my siege towers, you know, pushing forward. I also have a great bombard because, you know, what's a siege battle without a great bombard taking down towers in a hit? They're absolutely awesome. They do take forever to shoot, which obviously is the drawback of bringing it. However, it's glorious just shooting 1 cannonball and taking down a tower. Even though I feel like just 4 culverines would probably be better, just because they can shoot quicker and probably do as much damage as the great bombard. But who knows, I might be wrong there. Then on my main line, this kind of makes up a majority of my army. I have these sergeants. They're my tier 2 infantry, I believe. They're of the early period. They're not going to win any medals, and there you go, you can see it. Oh, just taking down that tower, that looks glorious. We will go to slow-mo whilst we run through the rest of the army comps. Yeah, these sergeants aren't going to win any medals at killing people. However, they're going to be, you know, a nice stable infantry force which will absorb ammunition, tire out enemy units, and just get into the battlefield and take the walls. So it's going to be making up my main front line. Then for my archer force, I have these Bohemian archers. Again, they're not going to be great in melee combat, but at distance, they're going to be very potent. And I really like the way their quivers are positioned on the shoulders. Then I have my heavy shot cavalry. These guys, these Bohemian knights are extremely nice. And if I can get them in the city center and start running amok, they will do so much damage. Then finally, I have a really awesome general unit. I think this is a custom model I actually have, which I didn't realize they were doing for Medieval Kingdoms 1212. But yeah, look at my dude right here. He's got like a special axe, special warhammer. He's got his eye covered and like special armor. It looks really nice. So if we're gonna get more of these custom models, that'd be amazing, because you know they already look really good as is. Then finally, I have 2 units of these spear sergeants. Again, just kind of act as a spear formation if Warrior tried anything cheeky with his cavalry. Then if we look at the Teutonic army, we have 2 units of these handgunners. Then we have 3 or 4 units of these spear sergeants of the high period, so they're going to be pretty decent, and some pretty nice shields as well guarding forward. Then for his main line, he has the Sparta Bruder. I always love it when someone brings the Teutonic Order, because it always tests my pronunciations. So yeah, his main line is the Sparta Bruder. They are just heavily, you know, chainmailed knights, which should be doing okay, a pretty standard infantry line. Then he has a couple units of these Prussian archers, which actually can hit the walls already, which is pretty impressive very long range on them. We actually have some catapults coming out from Warrior of Sparta as well. Then as we go back, we have some mounted sergeants of the High period. These guys aren't super heavily armoured. There's also melee cavalry as well, which is always questionable to take, but I'm sure they'll do decently. Then finally, the Teutonic player has 2 units of heavy crossbowmen and another unit of gunners back here with some more Prussian archers, and then his general right here looking glorious. Actually missing a shield, I think, but he does look awesome nonetheless. So then finally we'll look at Warrior Sparta's army as he shoots out a horrific volley of fire catapults. I think he's trying to take down my siege towers, which is pretty sensible. If he can smash these, he'll kill a bunch of dudes. We'll just look at this impact, and by the looks of it, I'm just about to get away with my life intact, missing every single one. This one's going to hit. Just falling short, unfortunately. So if we look at Warrior Sparta's army, he has 5 units of these yeoman archers, deciding not to go with the knightly retinue, or not the knightly retinue, the retinue longbowmen, sorry. You know, these guys are pretty much just as good missile damage wise. It's just the knightly retinue, sorry, the retinue longbows are a bit better in melee combat. Then for his main infantry line, he has a bunch of these foot knightly retinue, some of Norfolk, I think he has some of Suffolk, and some just sergeants of the High period, which are going to be covering his walls. To go along with that, he has 2 heavy billmen. These guys are going to be sick at holding any street or gateway he needs to hold. They're going to be extremely potent. Then as we go further through his army, he has some more Earl of Winchester infantry right there. Then he has 3 more units of Bill Sergeants. These guys aren't the heavy, but they're still halberds, so they're going to be decent at holding each one of these hallways, or I guess streets, I should say, not hallways, of these streets. It's not quite that Goodrich Castle map where you can get through every single garden and I guess alleyway. Then some more Earl of Winchester infantry, more foot knightly retinue as we go back. These are the King's colours. Then as we go all the way back, we have his elite infantry. These troops are ready to hold. It's really smart of him to put them all the way back in the city centre, because when my troops finally get back here and they're exhausted after fighting through, you know, the intense wall fight, the intense street fighting, we're going to have to come up against these elite, fresh warriors. So these are the sergeants of the late period. You can see they have got some pretty insane armour on their chest and helmets, covering their entire face as well, with maces, chainmail underneath their coats as well. They're going to be extremely hard to deal with. Then we have the English King. I love the crown and the helmet. It looks awesome. Then as we move over, we have some more heavy infantry. These guys are again just some sergeants, I think, of the High period, so not quite the late period, but still pretty good nonetheless. And now we have probably one of my favourite units in the game is these. Look at them soldiers right there in the centre. I wish more of these soldiers actually had the English coat of arms on all of them. They would just look amazing. But we do have these footmen at arms, just absolute beasts with 2-handed weapons. I mean, like, I wish every single unit had them colours on them. They would just look so sick indeed. So yeah, that's Warrior Sparta's army. I may have missed a few units, but I'm sure we will discover them as we get into this battle. And I hope you guys are ready. My Great Bombard, I'm hoping, is going to be loading up for another shot as more catapults come in, actually hitting my towers. If Warrior Sparta can take down a tower or 2 before I get to the walls, that's going to be extremely good for him. We got another one coming out, and by the looks of it, it's going to be getting a direct hit on the bottom of my siege tower. Luckily, I brought the late period siege towers, so they're going to be able to take a pretty big pounding if that needs to be. But I mean, that's exactly what we're receiving right now. We have a fire arrows from the longbowmen taking it down. We just need we need Gandalf to tell them to shoot the trolls, not the towers, which you think would make quite a lot of sense. Now that my towers are going to be getting close to the wall, that one almost went through the gap there. As my towers are getting closer to the wall, Warrior Sparta is going to bring off his archers on the wall, or at least reposition them. He wants to hold these walls with everything he does have. So I think that's another tower being destroyed right there, killing several soldiers, which is beautiful. These towers are actually, you know, smoking a little bit, so the wood is starting to catch fire. So if Warrior Sparta can keep on hitting these with flaming shots, maybe he can take them down. However, my men are at the wall. My macemen are going to be charging off. And this is exactly the unit I want charging off straight away, because these macemen will do work. If you saw my previous battle, you guys would know how much damage they actually did. And they're just going to be flying off. The soldiers are going to be pouring up the ladders now and just jumping onto the wall. So the wall fighting has begun. We have another siege tower going down and actually going to be catching some of these archers as Warrior Sparta tries to rush them off. I'm also moving up another siege tower right here. As well as that, my Teutonic ally has also pushed his soldiers off on the walls. He's got some two-handed warriors on there, and then his Schroederbruder, I think these guys are. Yeah, his Schroederbruder. Sorry if I'm butchering all of these names. He's also delay pushing up some more siege towers, which is a smart move, because once Warrior Sparta commits a lot of his soldiers here, he can now use these soldiers to get off and outflank them. As well as that, the city is ablaze right now, which is very good for us. If we can start getting some debuffs to the settlement damage, that'll be very nice, and just spread a complete fire in the city. So we're going to be fighting on the walls for a little bit. As well as that, I believe the siege tower or a ram is being moved up to take care of the gates. Even though the gate is currently open right now, I think one of Warrior Sparta's units accidentally pathed out the city. But the main fighting right now is all down on the walls. Warrior Sparta is not going to give up these walls lightly. He could have easily just fallen back and let us have the walls, but you know, we want to make this an awesome battle. You know, we want to make this fun for you guys to watch. And I mean, just look at that fighting. We have some archer fire moving in as well over the top. More soldiers jumping off from the Teutonic Order player, which is going to be much needed. But the fighting on the walls is going to be going on for some time now. Some archer fire going off, picking off away at these halberds. I want to try and whittle them down a little bit before I move up. As well as that, we have the ram, which is now smashing away. And these soldiers are ready to push forward when the ram is down, or when the gate is down. Ironically enough, the ram does get destroyed when the gate gets destroyed. I think Creative Assembly were just like, yeah, whatever, that can go down. As well as that, we've also smashed down the last siege tower, the last wall tower, I should say, which is very good for us because it means that we're not going to be getting shot by fire arrows constantly from the towers. However, it does mean that we can't actually use any of the exits. I always found that really annoying from Attila siege battles, how when these towers go down, you can't actually use any of these pathways down. So to actually get our troops off the walls, we're going to have to move all the way around and actually get down over here, right in this one. So it's going to be a pretty long slog, especially when Warrior has these elite soldiers holding the walls. He has his foot knightly retinue. The Earl of Norfolk has been garrisoned with the walls, and he will hold it. So until we manage to finally smash through these warriors, all my elite soldiers, my 5 macemen, are going to be stuck on the walls. So that's going to be extremely brutal. I just need to try and make quick work of this as my macemen push forward. As well as that, he does also have this small resistance of troops on this right flank right now. The Earl of Winchester has been ordered to hold this right wall and not give it up. There's not many of them left, but they're still going to be causing an annoyance, which is something I really like, you know. It's like a few men can hold off, you know, an entire army. You know, kind of got that 300 vibe. Obviously not quite that extreme. But because these walls are so narrow, numbers don't really mean much. So it's going to be very long to actually break through them, because both of these units are highly armored. So it's going to take a while for either side to whittle them down and then push forward. So even though I have look at all these macemen just not really doing anything right now. Even though I have all of these macemen right here, it's going to take me a while to actually break through and push on. If we look back over here, the wall fighting is still going on. The Earl of the Earl of Winchester right now holding on? The Earl of Norfolk, sorry, is still holding on, and he's still got pretty decent numbers. A few of his other soldiers are whittled around here. What actually are these guys? The two-handed units for these guys. The Teutonic sergeants have tried to push off, but they are surrounded by the Earl of Suffolk again, holding that off. As well as that, the Teutonic player did a smart thing by bringing up some of his elite two-handed warriors right here, which are going to be hitting in the side and doing plenty of damage. As well as that, he's pushed on some more soldiers down here. I think his pikemen are actually fighting some of the soldiers on the wall. I can't imagine the pikemen are going to be doing too good on the walls. And Warrior has actually pushed up his halberds, which are going to be doing probably extremely well on the walls, because they've got a much smaller, I guess a much smaller pike to maneuver, as the halberds, you know, a lot shorter, whereas the pike is huge, so they have to actually just whip out their swords. So I imagine the halberds are going to be doing a good job. As well as that, the tower is constantly shooting down, doing plenty of damage. So the walls have now been taken, which is really good, and the gates have been taken for us. As I said, the walls are still, you know, being fought over. The Earl of Winchester is holding with a few soldiers, and Warrior is going to be coming in with a huge catapult shot here, just burning so many of my macemen, which are just stuck on the walls. There's no way for them to get off right now. I'm going to be moving up some of my sergeants into the engagement. However, we're going to have to be fighting through these billmen, which is going to be a very difficult task. We're going to try our best to do it, but I imagine many casualties are going to occur because of this. I actually like the way they've done the Billman in this latest patch. I'm not sure if they've changed it at all, but I felt like my men just didn't die instantly running onto the Billman. I felt like it was obviously never a smart move to charge onto these guys, but if I had enough men, I could break these guys fairly efficiently, and that's exactly what we're going to be trying to do as the awesome men in the distance are trying to fight. So you saw a few of my men get pushed back and a few men drop, but, you know, from what it used to be, not every soldier just died there on the charge. Obviously, it's going to be not good for me because the halberds have the range to keep me back. But if I push on them, I use my numbers just to get around the side of them, then hopefully I can claim victory here. And I like that. I only lost like 10, maybe 15 dudes on the charge. We've got the who is this? I keep on forgetting. The Earl of Winchester is holding still. I've barely killed any just because they can use a tight formation to hold me back. And look how many men I just have stuck on the walls being annihilated by the catapults. It's just not good for me. Look at how many Teutonic sergeants we have there as well. So very few amounts of men are holding us back. If we look at the balance of power right now, we can see it is still in our favour. We've managed to kill almost 1,000 soldiers and only lost 500. However, that's because we deployed our most elite soldiers first, and Warrior kind of used his weaker units first. Now that all my macemen are stuck on the wall, I'm kind of stuck using my sergeants of the early period to go and fight. And they're not going to be able to stand up against any other elite units. As we move on, I did actually have one unit of macemen, I believe, which managed to break down. However, they are going to be in a pretty bad position right now. They got caught off on the side, and they're going to be having halberds charging into them. Luckily, I managed to get a pretty decent charge off on the halberds, or I guess I didn't. I thought I did. But by the looks of it, the halberds are actually going to be able to hold me back. Luckily, the macemen are just really elite infantry, and they're going to be doing okay. They're not going to break instantly, even though they are somewhat surrounded. Luckily, the Teutonic player moved up his sergeants to go in and hold back this foot knightly retinue. But it's only going to be a matter of time until these guys break and they just charge directly into my macemen's back, who are already pretty unhappy. The pikemen are struggling. They've been pushed up against the walls. They either have the option to jump over the walls or get slaughtered by the halberds. So I don't know what one I'd rather choose. Break my legs and maybe survive, or probably not survive at all. Or just try and fight my way out. I did bring up some of my sergeants of the early period into his knightly retinue. Again, this isn't going to go in my favour, but all I'm trying to do is just slow these guys up so my macemen can try and do as much damage as physically possible. The wall fighting is still going on, and that's what I said, the wall fighting goes on for a while, which is, I love that. You know, the walls wouldn't be over in like 5 minutes. And the funny thing is as well, Warrior Sparta deployed his best troops in the city centre. So maybe he could actually have held the walls if, you know, if we were playing a bit more seriously. The Teutonic sergeants are just shoulder to shoulder right now, finding it so difficult to swing their weapon. My macemen are stuck up here. The Earl of Winchester is finally starting to break, not many men left. I have managed to start surrounding these halberds, but again, it's not going to be going too well for me because these are just my weaker troops. If I maybe have my macemen up here, things would be going a bit different for me. And I just love these houses. I think they just look so awesome. Obviously, they're still working on them, as I said in the beginning of the video, so a few of these houses might get removed and replaced with other ones, but it's still, you know, crazy cool to see that. I'm pouring in more soldiers here, really just trying to get to my macemen, as they are completely surrounded now, I believe. Or not quite surrounded, they're still holding, but they're taking fire arrows from this tower. They are actually doing plenty of damage to the billmen, which is good to see. They are obviously receiving a lot of damage, especially from being attacked from the side. But my men are so heavily armoured that it's very hard for the earls and the billmen to actually break them right there. Just poison the grain quickly. I guess we'll be taking that afterwards. And my sergeants are trying their best to fight through the knightly retinue and break forward and support them. However, I feel like it's just too much of an intense task for them to do that. You can see I'm just not taking enough of them down. I've moved up another unit of sergeants to help out, but the knightly retinue still I've only lost 13 men. Again, I've only lost a few as well, if it will even show me. By the looks of it, it's not popping up, but I've only lost a couple men, but I'm pouring in as many men as possible. The wall fighting is still fierce and going on. It would have maybe been a smart idea to actually make a breach in the wall as well. That could have definitely have helped us out, but I think we were just focusing on attacking this because it is such a long battle as well. We didn't want to get drawn out and actually run out of time and have our troops lose. I'm going to be moving in some of my spearmen as well into the city. But again, we are just still fighting over these billmen. The catapults are going out, trying to take away some of Warrior Sparta's catapults. He is deciding to actually give up that street when his billmen surrender. He's just going to allow me to pour in, and he's going to move some of his soldiers back to hold, you know, different streets around the city. But remember, guys, he does still have all these elite sergeants of the late period left to fight, and his footmen at arms as well. Whereas pretty much I have deployed my entire army. Any units, if we press space quickly, you know, a lot of these soldiers are exhausted fighting on the walls. I can't believe the wall fighting is still going on. A lot of these soldiers are exhausted. I've got 3 units of reserve infantry, which are all pretty tired right now. Catapult still going out as well, just missing it. By the looks of it, we managed to take out 1 catapult. But I think these guys are actually out of ammunition, so maybe that was a bit of a mispar on our point, wasting a bit of ammunition on these guys. But I think I soon tell him that, you know, there's no point in shooting at these guys anymore. They've got no ammunition. We're just wasting catapults at this point. The billmen are holding. There's so many dead bodies right here. But I am just simply using my numbers to push forward and try and break the halberds down. Getting these troops down the flank is going to really help me out and speed up this process. But the billmen, these are heavy billmen, not just normal billmen, so it's going to be difficult to do so. I could have maybe also brought up my archers, but I didn't want to receive any friendly fire. I'm also getting around this right and left flank, which is kind of nice. The more my men move around, the better it is. Because I can't, you know, attacking the halberd formation from the front is never going to go in my favour. But if I can get around the flanks and just whittle these guys down, it's going to be pretty good for us. The fighting on the walls is still continuing. The sergeants are starting to make pretty good headway. And by the looks of it, we managed to push Warriors' knightly retinue up against the walls, so we can actually start moving some soldiers through the walls and start getting them down. I believe my ally is also going to be bringing up his catapult as well to help me out over here, because, you know, as you can see, my macemen have now been surrounded. They are down to 80 soldiers now. They've got halberds in their backs. They've got soldiers in their fronts. There's literally just no way out for these guys. They have to fight their way out and just try and kill as many Englishmen as physically possible. My soldiers are trying their best to make their way forward to them, and I think they're doing an okay job. They've managed to get these guys down to 96 soldiers, so that's not too bad. I've lost 30, but I do actually have more men in my unit as well. So we could actually break through this and keep them alive. We are actually managing to break a unit of bill sergeants as well. So even though these macemen are fully surrounded, they are still holding back the enemy advance and routing units. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Now we have some fire arrows coming in. This is not too good for me because it's going to rout the macemen. However, it's also going to do damage to the enemy force. I also brought up some of my knights just to try and help break this position. And if I can thin it out enough, I can run my knights through. Because if I can get my knights in the city, I can start hitting a lot of these positions, using these streets to my advantage. Maybe getting round back here and destroying them that way. I believe right now, yeah, as you can see, I've completely enveloped this halberd formation now. There is no escape for them, and this is going to be where we break them. I won't be able to break them from the front, but just holding them in place from the front and using these guys to get round the back and start whittling them down is going to be my only option. Is the wall fighting over yet? Have we pretty much cleaned them up? Not yet. It's almost. We've managed to push the Earl of Norfolk onto the back of the walls, and we're going to be kicking them off very, very soon. They are still holding on though. Nice, we have some catapult fire now. Literally threading the needle and just smashing these soldiers. That was beautiful. Literally finding this gap, making a way forward and just smashing them. That's really good. There's like such a finite gap. So the catapult crew is doing extremely well. That catapult actually went through the building. But this is going to cause a fire in the city and it's going to look glorious. By the looks of it, my soldiers, my macemen did rout from the battlefield. Again, another wonderful catapult fire shot. I love how it just bounces off the building and then goes down and lands and just burns the soldiers underneath. But as you can see, the city is going to start to burn. More catapult shots are coming in. The fire arrows are also volleying in and whittling down these soldiers. My knights are pushing forward now. By the looks of it, the knights have managed to actually come up across the onto the knightly retinue right there. And I mean, that looks amazing with the city burning. Look at that little Warhammer sigil right there. That looks really, really cool. And I love the way these cities look as well. That looks amazing. Like they're burning from the inside out. That's awesome. So the cities are going to be burning. We have my knights fighting hard. If we can break this, then we can allow all my units to get around the side. I mean, the sheer amount of catapult fire and archer fire going here is just whittling these guys down. If we look back at the other major engagement right now, the Billmen are being fully surrounded now, but they are not giving up. They are not surrendering. They've killed so many soldiers from the front. You can see the pile of bodies which just now lay at their feet. And they are still fighting. Some archer fire is going to come in now and help us whittle these guys down. You know, I was going for a more slow, methodical push on these Billmen, but the archer fire is definitely going to help us out. I believe we actually managed to rout one of the units. We have indeed, and the other unit is soon to rout as well. And as they try and fall back, we have my sergeants cutting down any routing units. So they would have been better off holding. But I mean, look how many men are lying at their feet. So they've definitely done a good job. I believe my macemen have now managed to get off the walls. Yeah, we've finally taken the walls like 20 minutes after the battle had started. So we finally managed to get off that. Catapults are still going out in the burning city. A lot of their buildings have collapsed, but the fire is still spreading to the other buildings. And hopefully it spreads to the rest of the settlement. That would be very good for us because, you know, the more the city burns, the more this ticks up. He's already receiving -1 morale, -1 melee attack, and -1 melee defense. So the more the city burns, the better it is for us. The knights are proving a potent force on this street as well, managing to actually kill a lot of these knightly retinue. These knightly retinue of the king's colours, they are indeed of the English king. I think they look really, really awesome. And we're going to be doing decently. As we move over here, the wall fighting has not completely finished though. I believe he does still have a unit of halberds up here and maybe some sergeants as well, which are fighting hard. The bill sergeants are actually whittled down, but so are the pikemen as well. You can see a lot of these pikemen are actually having to whip out their swords and fight like that, whereas the halberds are actually being able to use their halberd, like I mentioned before. He is moving up some of my, I'm moving up some of my sergeants to help out on the walls because I want to clear up this path so we can use our forces better to kind of get these forces down off the walls and to assault this area. We are now moving on in the city. Warrior Sparta does have a few units of infantry still remaining, and he's going to try and hold us back before we get to the city centre, which is still holding, and you know, with his most elite units as well. I'm going to get a really nice charge over here onto the back of his sword infantry. It's also going to push me onto the back or onto the front of these halberds, which obviously isn't a good idea. These halberds will slaughter me. However, my main goal from this charge was just to whittle down his infantry. If we can kill his sword infantry, that's going to free up a lot more of our own forces. I mean, our horses aren't actually doing too bad against the halberds. With the support of the fire arrows, we might actually be able to break these guys. The catapult is still hitting some of these walls, and I think my horses being pulled through is going to overwhelm the knightly retinue. There's only like 6 or 7 of them left, and we're going to pour in the rest of our forces. We have some more, my swordsmen coming in. My reserve corps is now moving in. I mean, look at the amount of dead though laying on that floor. That's absolutely crazy. I am now going to be pushing on to fighting more of his sergeants. This is probably one of the easier units I've fought in this battle. The fire arrows are going to be coming in. It's going to be hitting my own men, but it's also going to be doing plenty of damage to Warrior Sparta's main line there. My knights are still in there fighting hard against the halberds. I thought I would have got them out by now, but I think I'm still holding off. I think the soldiers coming in from the side is actually really helping out. We have some knights, you know, hitting the halberds in the side, and that's going to be, you know, easing up our advance. As well as that, my soldiers have finally broken the knightly retinue right there, and the sergeants are going to be pushing on the foot knightly retinue over here, still holding the walls. So he does have 2 units here, but if we manage to break these 2 units right there, which we are doing a decent job of, again, I am losing a load of knights to this, which I probably shouldn't have. I should have just got these guys out of there, which I now believe I am now doing. But with the fire arrows, we're actually doing loads of damage to these guys and actually managed to rout them, which was really good. So we actually decided to turn around and push on the halberds to stop them from coming back. I do not want any more halberds returning to the battlefield. As well as that, the fire arrows are doing decent damage, but they're also, you know, hurting my own men, burning a few of my soldiers. I'm trying to let my men get as much rest as possible. Obviously, a few of these units fought hard at the halberd, you know, I guess defense over here, so bringing them back is going to be difficult. As well as that, Warrior Sparta has another unit of sergeants of the high period, which are going to be holding back my macemen. These guys shouldn't be too much of an issue for my macemen. However, I believe my macemen are extremely tired. They've been fighting on the walls since the beginning of the battle, whereas they're coming up against a much more fresh unit in shield wall, I believe. So, you know, they're going to be, you know, at least somewhat difficult. However, my macemen should overwhelm them. But it looks a bit as a peasant wanting to join the fight with his stick. He's like, to the front line, men, we must defend the city. But I feel like his doom is only imminent. And here we go. I've managed to get my knights into the city. This is exactly what we wanted to have happen. We're going to be getting our knights and we're going to be charging down these street defenses. I think Warrior Sparta sees this and he tries to pull his soldiers out of there. We may have just routed them. Yeah, we actually managed to rout them. However, the unit over here is still holding, and then they don't know what's about to hit them right now. They can't see around the corner. They're just expecting their soldiers to hold and maybe a messenger to be sent. Maybe that peasant soldier was a messenger and he's trying to get forward to the front lines to tell the commander that they need to retreat, that the streets have been lost and they need to fall back to the city centre. And I mean, if anyone looks around the side, they're going to see my knights pouring in. That looks glorious with the buildings in the background. And this is going to be their end. They're going to be pushed forward onto my macemen and be sent to the floor. My macemen are just going to be smashing them on the floor now, taking care of them. And the knights as well behind them on horseback are just going to be cleaning up and finishing off these sergeants and actually routing them. This is going to allow my entire force to be pushed forward. But again, remember, my units are exhausted. My macemen are very depleted. My morale is not the best in the world. Warrior Sparta has his elite soldiers still remaining. He could easily cause a mass rout right now and send us from the field. You know, we may still have 4,800 troops, which sounds like a hell of a lot. But he has 1,400 fresh elite soldiers still remaining on the battlefield. So, you know, if Warrior Sparta manages to get a kill on our general or just, you know, push back our exhausted troops, then he could easily still take this battle. Because all of his soldiers are elite. If they form shield wall and they clump up, there's going to be no way we can really break through on this formation. So the battle is definitely not over. If you know who wins this battle yet, you know, I would still recommend you to stick around and watch till the end because it is extremely close and can literally go either way. We have a Prussian archers moving through the city now that I have secured these streets. As well as that, my knights did an amazing job and they're just standing over the dead English as we push on with my macemen. The macemen are again exhausted and I probably do need to rest them before we decide to push round. But we're going to be moving around to the docks and getting up here. However, ready to meet me is the footmen at arms, the elite footmen at arms. They're going to be getting a wonderful charge down here. Look at that ramp. That's going to be absolutely brutal. As well as that, we have these towers constantly shooting out. The sergeants of the high period are going to be defending this position. And then over here, we have some fire arrows moving in. But it's not really going to be doing too much damage. Taking out 1 or 2 dudes per volley is not going to be enough. And again, as I said, I've only got my weak units really here to push up. These guys could easily be broken as the sergeants of the late period are in shield wall. That gives them huge bonuses against my infantry. So even though we're pushing up here and we have huge numbers, we could easily be broken right now. Oh my god, these English warriors, they're like flag bearer and they're like, I guess, the commander of the unit. Look so sick. Hopefully we can get some units which just look like this with the English coat of arms on, because they look amazing. Imagine just an entire unit of foot knightly retinue. As well as that, he does also have some more men in reserve as well. Damn, warrior has a large amount of troops left. I'm going to be pouring in as many of my warriors as possible. So many volleys from the Prussian archers coming in. But I don't know if this is the perfect thing for us to be doing right now. Fire arrowing these units is only going to be bad for us because my units have low morale, whereas Warrior Sparta's men are fresh and they have extremely high morale. So it's going to be difficult indeed. As well as that, the tower is shooting. We have the English king holding the line, but I'm pouring up as many men as possible as the Prussian archers just shoot volley after volley. I believe we still have a decent reserve line as well. We have some pikemen back here. We have some spear sergeants. But again, the spear sergeants aren't great at actually fighting down the Englishmen. So I'm going to be moving in my archer sergeants right now. Luckily, they still have a lot of ammunition left. I also have a unit of knights still remaining. It is, however, getting shot to pieces by the tower, so I should probably speed that up. I believe I'm going to be moving some of my soldiers back here, letting these macemen get their energy back. But these macemen are going to be ordered. They have one order, and that is to charge up here and to take on the most elite English warriors. And they're going to be doing exactly that. The footmen at arms are going to be charging down, but it's up to the macemen to break them. They've been bloodied. They are eager to fight this battle, whereas the footmen at arms have not swung a single weapon yet. Warrior is also going to support that with some more this is just sergeants of the late period, right? Yeah, just sergeants of the late period. He'll move down and help out. If we look back over at this flank, you can really see we are making no headway right now whatsoever. We've taken down a few of these guys, maybe like maybe like 30, 35 altogether, just from the amount of archer fire. But my swords are definitely not making the breach here. As well as that, my ally does have some Sparta up here helping out. But we are definitely not clearing these guys out whatsoever. I'm going to be sending some infantry around the side as well, just because I feel like I need to make a breach elsewhere. I need to try and stretch Warrior as much as possible to try and thin out his lines. If I can get, like, open up one of these breaches, then that might allow me to get some cavalry around. Because remember, I do still have some horses, which I believe I've actually sent around here. I'm going to be charging in to these sergeants, which Warrior tried to put down here to hold up. They are going to form shield wall just in time, which I believe saved them a lot of casualties. As well as that, he does still have this tower shooting down into the backs of my knights, which is going to be extremely effective for him. But I do have some macemen rushing as fast as possible. I believe I'm walking them just because I want them to get their energy back. But they are running as fast, or no, I guess they're not running. They're walking as fast as they can. They're quick walking to try and get over there. This is going to deplete my assault over here, though, and allow the footmen at arms to really cut me down. The fire arrows are still rattling away. We're still struggling to break this, though. We have so much infantry here. I also have some spearmen fighting in here, which may not have been the best idea. But I'm going to be trying my best to break them down. But the fresh warriors are going to be able to just to hold the line in shield wall as well. Shield wall is such a strong formation, much like it should be. A loose formation, you know, should get cut to pieces by a strong shield wall. It is impenetrable, as 1066 did show. I know it is a different era, but no, what, 200 years ahead of when this game's set. The footmen at arms are fighting hard, but my macemen are still doing surprisingly well. Warrior Sparta maybe could have used his general to rush down here and maybe charge downhill. That could have been pretty brutal. But I'm surprised. I thought my macemen wouldn't do too good, but I guess because they are so good at armor piercing, they're actually doing pretty decently with their maces. They're actually able to take care of these men at arms not too badly. They obviously are losing plenty of soldiers. This one's down to 97, this one's down to 131. If we look over here as well, the tower is still just machine gunning, shooting us down. I would very much like them to see, maybe in a future historical title, they make towers like they did in Medieval 2. If you had a unit by the tower, it should still shoot. However, if you don't have a unit by the tower, it shouldn't be shooting like this, because Attila towers are just really brutal. But it does also give, the defender a bit of an advantage. Normally, you never see the defender winning in siege battles. So, it's always good to see them with a chance. The handgunners of the Teutonic soldiers, which we haven't really seen too much of, are going to be forming up and hopefully getting some volleys off on Warrior Sparta's defensive troops here. They're going to be volleying up, getting a pretty not that great volley to begin with, only taking down 15 soldiers. Hopefully they'll be reloading soon and opening up very soon, because they are actually taking a lot of arrow fire as well. You saw 2 dudes going down right there, another guy going down before they even get another shot. So hopefully they get another shot off and can do some more damage. Come on, shoot. By the looks of it, they're still reloading, or they just need to reform up. Warrior Sparta is going to see them now, and he's going to be charging his infantry at them, which is the smartest thing he could have done to whittle them down. And there they start opening up. It's a little bit too late, but I mean, look how many casualties they are taking down as these soldiers run on. But now that the soldiers are here, they're going to cut down the gunners. My swordsmen are rushing as fast as they can. They are exhausted though, but they are trying to help out and support this as quickly as possible. Down here at the dockyards, we are still struggling to get through them. However, we are getting through them. The casualties are abnormally high just because of the tower shooting us in the back. If it wasn't for the tower, we'd be in a much better situation. But unfortunately, the tower is just killing us, and there's still 95 sergeants of the higher period still defending there. As we move back and watch the footmen at arms fight hard downhill at my macemen, you can see they are still doing a decent job. Ideally, Warrior Sparta just needs to try and rout a section of this wall, and that'll free up so many of his men as we've pushed in so many of our men into these clumped up areas. We have pretty much half our force probably fighting in this section right now, and if we press K, you can really see some of my men are even starting to break. The fire arrows are starting to hurt us a little bit now. So these footmen at arms are doing pretty decently at holding us back. Warrior's going to push another unit of sergeants up here to try and resupply this right flank. I believe, however, as soon as I break through this, I'm going to move up my warriors and try and resupply them. What I could have done as well is I could have brought up 2 units to go and help out my soldiers down there. I believe my general is now coming in with his glorious custom model. At least it looks like a custom model. I could be wrong. He's going to be pushing up and trying to free up my maceman. I'm going to be sending him directly down to the docks. He's actually going to get a bit involved in this engagement, which I didn't want to happen. But he's going to be charging down and trying to free up, because I have two of my strongest infantry units being held up right now, and I could really use them in the front line as soon as possible. So we're going to be charging down upon them and just sending them flying, and that's exactly what we do. That's going to rout them instantly, which I think I would run from the battlefield if I had these heavy horses charging my back down this slope. And it's going to allow these macemen to start running up, get out of tower range, and push up to this side. Because by the looks of it, Warrior Sparta does have no soldiers left. As well as that, my ally started shooting Warrior Sparta's general, which was a bit unfair. Luckily, he doesn't get killed at all. But this guy did say he was pretty new to multiplayer and probably didn't understand that, shooting an enemy general is just, ratty, and it's quite unhonorable. So I told him that you shouldn't be doing that, and he stops very, very soon. And the Warrior's general does survive the battle. However, his unit does get a bit depleted, which is, could have definitely have turned the tide of this battle one way or another. How are we doing against the Foot Knightly Retinue? I mean, we've actually managed to whittle down the Footmen at Arms to 71. However, my Macemen are starting to dwindle. There's 50 left in this unit and only 100 left in that unit. My archers are going to now start opening up. We also are taking down this tower, which is probably something I should have done a little while ago. We have actually taken down that tower. The main front line is still going hard, and look at the pile of my Bohemian soldiers just laying on the battlefield right there. They just can't break this shield wall. He's got two units extremely close up to each other, and this is an extremely smart move by Warrior. It means that his kind of entry mass is just massive, and it's going to be extremely hard for us to break them, even with my axes. God, that looks so glorious. I absolutely love this mod, especially with the building pack as well. I really, really do just adore it. So I'm going to be moving up my general. I thought my only way here was to suicide my general in and just try and break this formation. If I can whittle these guys up and allow our units to pull through, that is our only way. Warrior Sparta is going to give a last-ditch effort with his general, and he's going to charge him in. I'm going to turn around and take this engagement, instead of trying to run on and hit the back of his units. I feel like if I can kill his general right now, maybe I can claim victory here. And we're going to do that, and then we're going to get another charge into the back of his lines, and that's going to open up, hopefully open up a decent space for us to push in our soldiers. If we can just create a gap in the center, you can see I'm trying to abuse that now, trying to use my soldiers to push through this gap, use my numbers to our advantage, and actually managed to break down this wall. The enemy general has been killed. The King of England has broken. That's going to be great for us. Some of Warrior's soldiers are still fighting hard against my macemen, who have really been in this engagement since the beginning, which has been pretty crazy. And there we go. Warrior's men are going to actually rout from the battlefield, and victory is going to be claimed by me and my Teutonic ally. So that was an epic battle. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please make sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Let's try and get this video to like 400 likes. That would be amazing. And I'll definitely do more Attila Sieges, because with the new building pack, I absolutely love them. And with the new, the balance changes and the new factions and stuff, I think Attila Sieges are really, really fun, and hopefully you guys agree. If you do, as I said, like the video. If we look at some of my kills, you can see my macemen doing really well, but even my sergeants of the early period actually doing pretty decent considering how bad they are. One of them almost getting 100 kills, a few of them almost getting 100 kills. Some of them not doing so good, but the majority of them actually doing okay. I imagine the ones which only got like 10 kills and one of them only getting 11 was probably the units which came in late to the battlefield. Or it's and a lot of these units were actually fighting the halberds as well. So they definitely did good. My knights obviously getting 275 kills, my general getting 86, which is also pretty impressive. If we look at my ally, you can see his pikeman doing good. His Schroederbruder getting 161 kills. His gunner's not really doing as good as we would have liked, but it's still pretty decent. If we look at Warriors lineup, his Foot Knightly Retinue getting 169 kills. The Footmen at Arms, I guess, really didn't do as well as we'd like, but I guess it's because they did come up against maybe the Macemen, which were the only unit which could really take these guys down. The Earl of Norfolk doing decently, holding them walls, and a few other notable damage dealers. So make sure to drop a like and a comment if you enjoyed this. Let me know what factions you want to see me play as next, and I'll see you guys next time, and fish out.